Hey Deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching Darcey and Stacey. Let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's see if anything interesting comes out of my face as I watch the show.
I lost my grandma under anesthesia. She have cancer in intestines, so she go for surgery. I was visiting her, bringing her food. For after the surgery, I was looking for her and I couldn't find her.
Yeah, that's rough. And of course, for Georgie, even though, as he says, things aren't so great between him and Darcey, that there is a trauma there. And of course, he doesn't want to lose Darcey and doesn't want her to die, and has a trauma, a loss, a grief around grandma going into the hospital under anesthesia and died. And he has some real feelings about that. So yeah, makes sense that he would be worried about Darcey.
I feel she just act like I'm her enemy than her fiancé, and that's gonna hurt me. The way how I say goodbye to Darcey is my bad. You know, I need to control my emotions. But I was hurt. I'm hurt by the fact that she keep reaching out to Octavia.
Yeah, of course you would be hurt that your partner would, motivate. It's clear that Darcey is motivated by trying to find out negative information. Imagine if your partner kept reaching out to, just imagine, all of you out there in a relationship right now, imagine that your partner goes behind your back. You know, maybe your partner is actually friends with your ex, but barring that, your friend or your partner reaches out to your ex who doesn't like you and tries to talks negative. The two of them are talking extremely negatively about you. And you keep saying, please don't do that. And they keep doing it. And that hurts his feelings. And we've seen a lot of people on the show who will have emotional reactivity, and they won't go to those core emotions of fear or hurt, pain or anxiety. And he is exhibiting that in a very healthy way. He's like, it hurt. He's not saying, she's a jerk face, I'm going to get her, I'm going to get back at her, I'm going to get revenge. He's just saying, it hurts. Because, that's what the primary emotion is. And he's very differentiated in that. And I don't know how well he communicated that to Darcey. The conversations we saw didn't really have this level of differentiation, but it should be obvious, right?
This goodbye was consequences from my emotions.
I'm sorry about Darcey, a very good heart.
Yeah, she's good, but she meets with my ex, and after she been texting her.
Who cares? He's talking to the girl. Who cares?
Wow, that's so helpful, Florian. Imagine you go to your, friend-ish and say, so my partner is going behind my back, talking with my ex-wife, negative information. Florian said, who cares? Who effing cares if she talks? Let it go. Wow, that's really helpful advice. Very, very supportive.
In the end, Octavia is not going to say nothing good for no one. I don't know anymore. Maybe I should reach out to her exes too.
No, two wrongs do not make a right. Do not reach out to Tom or Jesse or whoever behind it. Now, you can ask Darcey, you could say, hey, so tit for tat, is it okay if I reach out to one of your exes? I'll do my best to try to be nice. But what would be the purpose for this? That Georgie's trying to find some dirt on? I don't think he needs to know anything. I think he knows who Darcey is. So I think his only reason for doing this would be for revenge. Maybe for reassurance of, I'm thinking about breaking up with her. Am I seeing Darcey correctly? So if he's truly wanting to break up with her and he's looking for some support, maybe that would be justified to reach out, because you've gone beyond the relationship at that point. You've gone beyond the threshold of I want to make this relationship work. But if he still wants to make the relationship work and he does this, yeah, two wrongs don't make it right.
You reach out to ex or something, you can talk bad for your wife, future wife. No, but you tell the truth. It's no work, nothing. This kind of thing is for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Florian, that's true. I agree with you. But where was this talk when when Georgie was talking about the hurt of Darcey talking with Octavia? Where was all this anti-talking with the exes of your partner sentiment?
And tries to make me believe things that aren't true about myself. The way he said goodbye to me was disrespectful and rude and the worst feeling ever. He's just blaming me and gaslighting me. And it's sad because if you say you love somebody, you don't treat someone like that.
So we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, that from what we've seen on the show, aside from what happened last episode where Georgie did seem to be a bit of a jerk face at times, Darcey is accusing Georgie of things. Darcey is not listening to him. Darcey is not apologizing. Darcey is not taking responsibility for when she is unfair to him. And Georgie is patient and nice and listening. The one fault that we saw predominantly from Georgie is that when he is hurt, and he also gauges that there's no use in engaging, he will be very quiet and put his hood up and just say, I'm just going to lay low and wait for this to end. And for Darcey, she sees all of that as, I'm not doing anything wrong. He's doing everything wrong. He essentially is abusing me, gaslighting me. Listen to all my episodes on gaslighting, by the way. I go into full detail audio episodes on what gaslighting is, how it was used before, how it's been using now. The lay public, because it was a clinical term, gaslighting, that was used predominantly in abusive or cult relationships, that was ongoing. It was a campaign that people went on either consciously or semi-consciously, usually within an abusive relationship, to gain control, so you can not only control their bodies but also control their minds. It's a very insidious process. It's really quite common to abusive relationships. And the lay public are using gaslighting for these very different terms, for very different situations. Darcey seems to be using it in a way, there are three definitions that I saw the lay public using it. One is when you tell someone how they feel and they don't feel that way. So if I'm like, hey, you're angry, and you're like, I'm not angry, and I'm like, yes, you are angry, and you're like, no, I'm not. Hey, you're gaslighting me, right? Or if you are blaming someone and you know that you're to blame. So I'm to blame. I'm the one who took the cookie out of the cookie jar. And I'm saying, you took the cookie out of the cookie jar. And I know I'm the one who took the cookie out of the cookie jar, but I'm blaming you for it. I'm gaslighting you. That's another usage. Or another one is to deny something that's obvious, like to say, like, I actually am angry, and you're saying, hey, you're angry. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I might be gaslighting you. So there are other terms for this. There are terms like lying, or shame lying, or distorted. You're not seeing things correctly, or you're misunderstanding, or you're afraid of revealing yourself. There's various different reasons. So Darcey is saying that Georgie was gaslighting her. And I think what she means by that is he is to blame, but he keeps blaming me. And he keeps saying that I'm pushing him. So I think she's using those two definitions. One is he's to blame and he keeps blaming me. That's gaslighting me. And he keeps saying that I keep pushing him away when I'm not pushing him away. That's gaslighting me. There are other terms for this, like misunderstanding, distorted, relationally confused, triggered. There are other words. We don't have to use gaslighting, because those who are gaslit, those who have been gaslit, are legitimately experiencing something that is extremely abusive and horrible. Having Georgie and Darcey disagree about who's to blame is a common relational thing that happens in romantic relationships. I don't think we have to invoke the gaslighting term in that situation. But language changes, and I'm an old man. What am I going to do?
I've seen you in this relationship, and you've done nothing wrong. Well, he's really angry because I reached out to his ex-wife again, Octavia.
So, boom, that's wrong. To go behind someone's back. Stacey and Darcey, would you appreciate it if Florian and Georgie went behind your back multiple times to your exes and had secret conversations, negative conversations about you. Is that right or wrong? I think most people would say that's wrong. It's wrong because it's deceptive, it's hurtful, it's unfair, it's not normal. You don't have to do that. It's not a good gauge to find out who I am, to go to my ex who doesn't like me anymore. And so in the very same sequence of sentences, Stacey says, I've observed this relationship. You've done nothing wrong. Yikes. Stacey has observed so many wrong things. I mean, the very least, the wrong accusation that they agreed they were wrong to, that Georgie said a bunch of horrible things. A friend of a friend of a friend heard this months ago, by the way, as someone pointed out in the comments. So that's wrong, that you would accuse someone of a friend of a friend of a friend that said something and then just blast them for days. And then when he keeps reiterating, I didn't say that. I don't know what you're talking about. I would never say that. Let me prove to you. And then he proves that he loves Darcey and wouldn't leave her when the money dries up. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, let's move on. And no apology. No, like, oh my God, Georgie, I'm so sorry that we put you through that. We're horrible people. We bullied you for days about something that a friend of a friend of a friend said without checking. And wow, we're to blame. So that's wrong. That's a wrong thing to do, right? So to say that Darcey has done nothing wrong, and that's just one of the things. Now, I'm a therapist. So when I watch this, what do I see? Well, I see two sisters who have what seem to be a massive distortion. Now, I can't know that because I'm not there. They know the situation a billion times better than I do. But if I'm going off of the show, which is all that I have to go off of, so I'm just speculating based on that, why would they be distorted about being right or wrong? Well, I would suspect that they have been wronged many times, probably from an early childhood experience, from long a time ago, and they learned that they can support each other. They have a model of a way of looking at the world that maybe particularly men will wrong them and they will stick together. And when anything bad is happening, it's automatically someone else's fault and we are not to blame. Because if we stop to take a look at ourselves, we will probably fall apart because we have no self-esteem. I don't know, but Darcey in particular, Stacey maybe, but Darcey in particular, she seems to crumble very quickly under stress. And what that tells me is that she doesn't have a strong foundation to stand on. She can't say, well, I guess that one didn't work out, or I guess he doesn't really like me, but I'm still a good person. She seems to really fall apart. And when you have nothing to stand on, then you have to come up with some desperate storyline to hold on to something. It's like you're in the desert and you're desperately thirsty, and you see a flicker of a flash of something on the horizon, and you're like, I hope that's water. It's water. It's got to be water. And you're running after it. You're thinking, it's a glass of water. It's an oasis. It's a lake. It's a puddle. It's got to be. You have to believe that because it's the only thing that keeps you going. And so when you believe that you're nothing and you're unlovable and you're not a good person, then you have to hold on to something like, I'm a good person, he's a bad person, I'm a good person, I'm a good person, we are good people, we support each other, the rest of the world is crap, even though underneath it all, they probably hate themselves. It's just a guess. I would have to ask them. There's a lot of signs pointing in that direction, but no direct evidence because they haven't said as much. Well, Darcey has said something along these lines, when the big breakups happen, she will, if I remember right, say things like, there it goes again, everyone rejects me. And that seems to come from a very early childhood or a very early life place. Doesn't sound like something that just began with Jesse, right? It sounds like something that has been shown to her from a very early age. So that would be an hypothesis. Another way of putting it is that the two of them are closest when they are bonding against a man. And last season, it was Florian that they were bonding over. And this season, it's Georgie that they're, they need each other. They need closeness. They have anxiety about each other because, they've been fighting throughout the seasons, seemingly having a lot of competition about who's going to have the best, man and the best relationship. and they might want closeness, and they have this model of unconsciously distorting a man's, but sometimes it coincides, with Jesse, their distortion or their need to have some man to hate was actually facilitated by the fact that Jesse provided hateful behavior, Tom as well. But Georgie doesn't, but they still force him into that role. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why Darcey and Stacey would be so distorted about something. I will hold out for the fact that I have no idea what's happening behind the scenes.
I was worried. I was really, really upset that he was getting so angry with me and so nasty. I felt like I needed to know from her if this is the same patterns they had. She was just basically like, yeah, leave his ass.
We always try to give Georgie the benefit of the doubt because I know you love him and you care for him and you want a future with him, but...
You always try to give him the benefit of the doubt? Now, why is this so frustrating to me? And I've said this before, it's because I have hopes for Darcey. Of all of the people you've asked me to watch, I've watched Darcey the most. I'm trying to figure out, let me look up how many episodes that I have reacted to Darcey. I'm going to do a little search by Darcey right now. I've done 45 episodes, 45 reaction videos to Darcey. I think that's what it says. And so this episode is probably like number 46. I don't know. So if you times that by 25 minutes, how many hours is that? Let's do a calculation. 45 times 25 divided by 60 equals 19 hours. So 19 hours, it's almost a full day. It seems like not that much, but I don't know. Anyway, but point is I've watched a lot of Darcey, and I care about her. I feel like I kind of know her, a parasocial relation. I have a parasocial relationship with her, meaning that I have a relationship with her. She doesn't have a relationship with me. And so I want what's best for her. I want her to meet someone. And when we discovered Georgie, when she met Georgie last season and everything seemed to go so well, there was almost no conflict. There was no issues last season. I was like, okay, Darcey, you finally found a compatible person and someone who won't trigger you like Jesse or Tom did. Someone who is stable, someone who doesn't cheat on you, and you can flourish and finally have that attachment security that you want. And I want that for her. And we're seemingly, who knows, watching the two of them conspire to ruin Darcey's well-being, to ruin her relationship with Georgie. I mean, even if we entertain the possibility that there's things going on behind the scenes, that Georgie is kind of a jerk face sometimes, they certainly aren't making a good case for that. If Georgie hit her or cheated on her or something, they would say that, obviously, but they're not saying anything like that. They're just sort of repeating the same phrases over and over again. And if those things were true, I would still imagine that Georgie is a good catch, that their relationship, if Darcey were to get therapy and work on her schemas and her reactivity and her displacement and her transference and her projective identification issues, then she would be able to enjoy the relationship, and then I would feel good for Darcey. It's like watching someone on a bicycle heading towards a cliff. You're like, no.
Stands right now, Stacey. I feel like Georgie likes to manipulate and cause confusion to bring her down and make her feel insecure. Georgie wants Darcey to feel like he's the best she'll ever get. That's scary.
Not only do they have a narrative that Georgie is, too quiet or he's kind of a jerk, according to their story, he is a true psychopathic, evil human being who is manipulative, trying to tear her down. He is a psychopathic, abusive, horrible, sadistic human being. That is their story. That case has not been made, to me anyway. I have seen no evidence of that. Could be. I can't be inside Georgie's mind. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm unconvinced. Are you convinced?
I keep expressing my concerns with Darcey and her relationship with Georgie, but she doesn't want to hear it from me.
Now even Octavia, the person Georgie's been married to, is telling Darcey to leave. That's a huge red flag.
What? Someone's ex is saying you should leave them. That's a red flag? If that's a red flag, then we all have a lot of red flags in our lives. Not all, hopefully not many, but at least some of our exes would advise our current partner to leave us, right? They'd be, oh, you don't want to be with that. Most of us would probably, just do a mental back of the napkin checklist of all your past relationship. If you met their partners right now, would you be like, thumbs up, totally fine, you found a wonderful person, you'll be more than happy? Probably not, right? You're probably like, there's some things you should watch out for. You might even say, avoid that person like the plague. So for Stacey to say that, for Octavia to say that Darcey should leave Georgie, that's a red flag. What? Now, if Octavia had something compelling to say, like Georgie did these sets of behaviors and he's doing that to you now, and we, the viewers, were convinced of that, then I guess that would be a red flag. But, what did Octavia say? She said, she basically just agreed with what Darcey was saying. Oh, they were saying that, this was back during the storyline that Georgie was some kind of like moocher and some kind of fancy person and trying to force Darcey to spend money, which didn't seem very convincing either. And so, if I remember right, Octavia's big, complaint was that it's always about Georgie, and he's always trying to get fancy things from people. I don't know. Anyway, there are things on this show, 90 Day Fiancé, where I'm like, I can see the grain of where it sprouts from. I can see where this person is getting this. I just have no idea where Darcey and Stacey are getting these ideas from. And it's frustrating to watch. It's one thing to see something that's blown up. It's another thing to see something that's completely invented.
Is he worth it? Is he even worth it?
All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.